You're both very good podcasters.
Oh,
this
thanks.
is successful. You're so easy to talk to.
Oh, wonderful.
You're not boring. This is fun. I will give you at least a 4-star review. Yeah.
That's enough. That's enough.
Therapy
We
Jeff.
can build on that.
4
Yeah.
stars.
Yeah.
4 stars. Therapy Jeff.
4 out of 4. Yeah.
4 to 5.
Yeah,
but
4 to 5. Okay. Welcome to This Helps with Marlon Morgan, where we sit down with the world's leading helpers to find out exactly what they're doing to help and what helps them. I'm Marlon Morgan, licensed therapist and founder and CEO of Wellness Together, a national nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the mental health of thousands of people every day. By the end of today's episode, you will have new practical skills that you can use today to improve your own mental health. Thank you so much for joining me and my longtime friend and fellow therapist, Jeremiah Aha, as we sit down for another authentic and vulnerable conversation with someone who is dedicated to helping others. What helps? Let's find out. You know who loves the 90s?
Tell me.
Therapy Jeff.
What a great hang.
Self-proclaimed, stuck in the 90s, so much so that he moved from Santa Monica, his hometown of LA, to Portland. It doesn't get more 90s than that.
Oh my gosh. What a time to be alive then and now.
It's great. It's hanging out with him was like hanging out with the best episode of Portlandia mixed with kind eyes and great therapy skills. And I could not be more excited to share it with everyone. We've had a lot of great guests.
True.
I can't pick a favorite, but I will say that
you better not.
This time with Therapy Jeff, with @Therapy Jeff, was one of my favorite hour and a half time periods in the recent memory.
Yeah. It was really, really great. It seemed like it was, the three of us hanging out, speaking authentically about serious things. So authentic, as a matter of fact.
How authentic?
So authentic. We have a brand new episode 5 release of a new sound effect for THP with Marlon Morgan.
Yeah, we really went back and forth on this because we want you to be able to listen with your kids and or in mixed company, shall we say, but Therapy Jeff really let it fly with those F-bombs, and I respect it. I don't think there was one. I don't think he overdid it, quite honestly.
No,
I think he really hit it. I think it was right over the plate as far as how many F words needed to be said. However, we do want to keep this podcast listenable. Now, you and I went back and forth on whether or not we think there should be the old-fashioned FCC bleeping noise. And I know we're going with that for purposes of this episode, but hear me out. Does that kind of make it seem like you're listening to something you shouldn't be? Like it almost makes like if I want to put this episode on in the car with my 10-year-old son, he might not notice a silent cuss word,
right?
But I think he's definitely going to notice this beeping, especially since it's not network television in 1997.
Yeah. So I got a couple things for that, Mark. Number one, everybody can hear sleep. Number one.
Okay, so now we're gonna have to edit this. Okay, great.
And number two, if we're talking 97, then we're gonna talk enhanced CD-ROM, Discman, anti-skip, on the lap, tape adapter, 92 Ford Taurus. And a muted sound makes it feel like those batteries are getting real low and that anti-skip isn't working. And the audio cuts out just for a quick second because you hit the speed bump going through the school zone, driving.
Yeah.
And you lose a little bit.
I noticed you tried to fit CD-ROM in there with Discman.
But I'm going enhanced CD-ROM. I'm going like Busta Rhymes comes out, and that's one of uh, his plugs for himself. Something with enhanced CD-ROM.
Oh, that's,
You remember that?
yeah, no, but I'm glad you're.
I did. It was a mashup of technologies that are obsolete beyond description.
A bus. Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like if I'm remembering this correctly on my Discman, right after the Walkman that I had, what it was shout out Chris Berry, one of my good friends, loves a good what it was.
What it is.
What it is when he explains something,
Oh,
he does a
man.
great job explaining it, but you know that he's about to explain something. And so what it is when you push the button
Mhm.
on the Discman, I believe the button was called ESP.
Oh, come on.
And so it actually, I don't know, I think we're to believe that Sony had created something that would read the mind of the CD you were listening to and actually go forward in the future, so that even if you went over a bump in your car, it would not skip and it would have the correct
Mhm.
data. But
Mhm.
I think you brought up a good point there, because if you were using battery power, the
Mhm.
two AA batteries,
Right.
non-rechargeable Discman batteries, then if you the second you pushed the ESP button, your battery went down to half, and then
It
like
did.
I would say a song and a half later, it was dead.
Yeah.
You needed new
It
batteries.
sounded great. You got through all of Biggie's Hypnotize and a little bit of Going Back to Cali, and then that was it. It was great. All of these reminiscent nostalgia, romanticizing of the past. There was a lot of that Jeff brought to the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and then very much that he brought to the 21st century, 2024 and beyond. About, I mean, if we said back in the 90s, what's your job? And one of the juniors that we knew when we were freshmen said, "Oh, I'm a content creator. That's what I'm going to be when I grow up."
Mm-hmm.
They might as well have said they are going to go live on Venus.
I would have just thought they were in Mr. Norzer's ceramics class, creating content to be fired in the kiln.
Created kiln content.
Yeah.
Subscribe now. Yeah. And so we get a real insight into what this journey's been like for him, as the fifth TikTok that he published. It went viral. And now there's over 4 million people that are engaging with him, that are listening, millions that have been helped along the way.
Mm-hmm.
We had a chance to hear him speak. It was after you spoke there at South by Southwest, shout out Austin, Texas, and had a chance to see his session. And he had a time to sit down with us. And it was an amazing conversation. I agree, Mar. I don't have any favorites, but that one was pretty fun.
It
It's
was
pretty
good.
fun.
It
Yeah.
was good. And he talked a lot about, once you're an influencer, sort of having to feed the beast or always keep the algorithm happy to,
Mm-hmm.
and what it's like to have an algorithm be your boss to tell you
Oof.
how well you're doing. And
Yeah.
it's can be great, but it can also be super taxing on your mental health. So I think Jeff gives us a great insight as to what the mental health effects are if you do become successful as an influencer, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
there are some things you want to consider.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would seriously recommend listening. He's got great insights. He's a great therapist, very fun person to hang out with.
Yep.
I think I'm actually going to be on his podcast in the not too distant future. So that'll be fun too. And it's going to have, I'm sure it'll have plenty of unedited cuss words. So if that's what you're looking for, check out,
Yeah.
is it problems? I think it's Problem Solved with Therapy
Problem
Jeff.
Solved. That's one of
Mhm.
his podcasts. Another's
Mhm.
Big Dating Energy, which is the book he has coming out. You're going to hear a great reference to Scholastic Book Fair.
I prefer
from
the richer, more refined version of
yeah,
Scholastic.
That's the UK more academic version.
That's like the Mid-Atlantic mainline
Scholastic Book Fair. I only pay in traveler's checks when I go to the Scholastic Book Fair.
It's quite a grand view that you're casting.
Yes. Check out therapyjeff.com, at therapyjeff on all platforms. Great conversation. And anything else, Mar? You send us out with just a 90s reference that's going to keep us coming back for more.
I'm just trying to think of who would be an influencer 30 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe, or the closest thing we even had to the internet, and that I think it would be one of the TRL, the Total Request Live DJs on.
He just gave the government name for
yeah.
Carson Daly's TRL.
I don't. I want all the Genzers out there to hashtag Gen Z, hashtag
Gen
effing,
Alpha.
yeah, Gen Alpha, hashtag no reason that these should be hashtags. No reason at all. Only a cuspy millennial would dare hashtag all of these things. However,
That's us. If you're into cuspy millennials and learning about things to help your mental health, you are at the right place.
TRL, Carson Daly,
Yep.
influencer, Ricky, shout out Ricky Rackman, Headbangers Ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then just a shout out to, in general, if that wasn't on, you could maybe get some internet-like facts from VH1's pop-up video. Enjoy this episode with Therapy Jeff, and we'll see you in the next one.
See ya.
We have Therapy Jeff Gunther here with us today. He's an incredible person. I think you can maybe look at him or just hear his voice and you feel like you're in therapy. That's how I feel right now. He hasn't really said much, but I looked at him and the compassion that when we had some technical issues earlier, the compassion that was radiating from his soul seemed to really have an effect on the room. And I just wanted to thank you for that.
No problem. Yeah, my presence is therapeutic.
I honestly was thinking this last night because I was going through some of your videos and just really feel like I don't spend much time on social media, but that was one of the first times I have where I felt better about myself afterwards. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, one of my favorite compliments is like, oh, you're like the good part of the internet.
Yeah. The bright corner.
Yeah, not a high bar.
Yeah.
So not the best compliment actually,
Yeah.
but I'll take it.
I think it's good. If you're gonna be on there,
Right.
Well, Jeff, what kind of movies do you like? That's why this is a podcast all about movies.
Well, yeah, I'm happy that I'm here. I'm not like a movie buff, and really, my two favorite movies are from the 90s. I'm kind of trapped in the 90s, and
I
I'm
love this. So am I.
apologizing for
No, great.
Office Space. I
Oh
think
my gosh.
a classic. I think we can all agree. Right?
Yes.
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 And also Swingers. Do you remember Swingers?
Of course.
That was
Yeah.
Vince Vaughn, his first movie, and that's when he peaked. He
I
was like,
I wasn't gonna say it,
I
but
love
yeah.
Vince Vaughn, but like he was so smoking hot in that movie and so funny. Yeah.
confident, just easy, free flowing. Whatever he said seemed cool.
Exactly.
In his 20s.
Yeah, and it was shot in LA where I grew up, and it was like the bars and the clubs that they went to are like this sort of like you only knew it if you like lived in LA, like where to go. So it felt very Los Angeles
on the
actually.
in crowd with
Yeah.
just watching it.
Right. So like you liked it, but like I lived it.
Yeah.
Right. You know, like so that's kind of
I already don't feel on the in crowd from
that's
no,
what
I
I'm
appreciate
aiming for.
I
Yeah.
feel like Sacramento has that for Lady Bird. It's
Yeah.
like people liked it. It was nominated, but it was like, no, I loved
Yeah.
Lady Bird. Yeah.
How about Favreau's performance in that? I noticed you didn't say anything, and I don't want to start something.
No,
you know?
no, I like Favreau. I like he plays like the anxiety so well.
Yeah.
You know, and we're all like I think we all are Favreau,
Yeah.
really, when it comes down to it, but we
Yeah.
all wish we're Vince Vaughn in that movie. So it like shows the different parts of us.
Deep.
Yeah,
I like that.
I'm pretty deep.
This is going up very far, very
Yeah.
quickly. Yeah.
We feel so seen.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if we're gonna choose the three of us and anyone who's watching the video, I'm Favreau. So I'll gladly take it on. I think a combination of you two might be
I'll
a
take
Vaughn vibe.
Having his name and our name in the same sentence, I'm for it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Um,
Office Space, though, if you want to talk
Thank
on
you.
that.
I almost didn't. We're here, and I'm not sure if we'll keep this in or if it'll be relevant at the time, but we're here at South by Southwest, and what I saw on there and I wasn't able to get to, and I don't know if you did.
I was not here for it either.
Okay, they did a 25-year reunion session with all of the main cast. I think, of course, I don't think Jennifer Aniston showed up, but other than that, I think Michael Bolton was there, looking totally different. Yeah. I didn't see Tom Smikowski and the jump to conclusions, Matt, being on the bill. Yeah. Saying along with those scumbags. Yeah. What's some of your favorite?
Well, I think there was I made one of the lines into my mantra for my teenage and into my 20s. I don't know if I'm going to quote it exactly, but he said, I do the least amount of work possible in order to not get fired.
Yes. Yeah, that was inspirational when he did that. I was
oh my God, that was liberating. That was freeing. I could do that too. I started quiet quitting way before all these Gen Zers. Yeah. I walked before they could run when it comes to quiet quitting.
That Ron Livingston was Peter Gibbons was your original guru for how you wanted to turn on Channel 9. Yeah, no, that's great. I can't believe, and I'm so glad I waited till we were on the podcast to ask you about this, because these are great ones. These are I don't want to give it up too soon. Is there anything else from Office Space that we need to? Okay, so this is about mental health, I think. So yeah, let's bring it back around to this living legend here in front of us with literally millions of followers. I don't know how it happens. I don't know what it's like, and I think that is true for a lot of us. I want to know, what is it like, and then how long have you been sort of on your road? You've been an influencer. Would you call yourself, did you go creator or influencer or both?
I don't care.
Yeah.
I think content creator sounds better than influencer, because there's some sort of we don't like influencers. They're sort
makes
of
you sound manipulative a little.
Yeah, right. But I'm trying to manipulate people into feeling good.
Yeah.
Getting their needs met. But I think I typically say I'm a content creator.
Okay. Note to self, don't say Jeff. Speaking of that, one of the quotes you had recently, actually, I don't know how recent it was, because I was looking at a lot of different videos, ones that I had never seen before. But one of the things I liked and really resonated with, because we've had some discussions about whether or not, we should be doing a podcast, whether or not we should be, what's the point? Are we furthering the mission? Are we making people feel better? How can we do that? And a lot of times people would say to me, oh, well, have you considered your personal brand? And I almost wanted to throw up every time. And, and this is no shade to anyone who's loves that term or whatever, but you said,
and I quote,
and I quote,
what did I say?
The fact that I'm even using the words personal brand is pretty disgusting. And it was a video you talked about capitalism, damaging our mental health and how to cope. And I found it absolutely helpful and almost liberating in a way, because you gave real examples of how we could maybe see the influence of other people wanting our time, attention, our money, our valuable limited time here on earth. And you sort of gave some real world examples. Can you just speak a little bit to your disdain for the for the personal brand and what it's become, and then also maybe what we can do and what we need to look for?
Yeah, it's funny because before I started to post content and then officially professionally be a content creator, I always used to say oh, that's very on brand for me, or that's very on brand. It was a fun thing to say that.
It's kind of funny too.
It was almost where it's you're kind of taking it back. You're making it your own.
Yeah.
You're you're not going to let capitalism have
I'm the brand now, dog. Yeah, that's kind of a funny for us.
And then once I started to create content and eventually shift into doing sponsored content for companies, then I really actually had to think of what my personal brand was.
Got real.
It got real. And then how I'm going to leverage that in order to connect with I know.
Yeah, that's another word.
In order to connect with other brands so that I can sell their
like a
right?
360 partnership. Is
Uh,
that what we're talking about
you
here?
know, really synergistic is,
Synergy.
yeah.
I was waiting for it.
Uh,
Go on.
um, and that's when I feel like I got really disgusted with it.
Yeah.
Is like I wasn't using it as like a funny thing and making it my own.
Yeah.
I actually had to think about it in order to like make money
Yeah.
on the platform when I like fully shifted into this is going to be my main job now. I'm
Yeah.
like, I mean, I've been a therapist for 20 years. But I've always been like a therapist and something else.
Hmm.
So a therapist and somebody who rents out office space to other counselors, or a therapist that's also helping like therapists market their practice, and then building a local online directory for Portland, and then a national one, and
Yeah.
then helping therapists use SEO to get more clients in Google, whatever.
Well,
So there's
that's all
always
pretty
something.
entrepreneurial, but
Hmm.
I can see the very obvious way that each of those things are helping people along the way. And I think that even the language that is used around content creation and influencing seems to be very corporate driven. And so, someone like yourself, because you've sort of done it in a way that I don't think many people have, and that you've what I see is someone being their authentic self, taking some risks, being confident but kind, having a good balance. And, and there's even times I don't feel like you take yourself overly seriously. So if someone does have a critique, you're just kind of like, yeah, well, that makes sense. That could happen. I can't be in everyone's life, speaking to everyone's direct issue.
Hmm.
And you've even put a video together, like things I've been called out on. And I think that to me makes you approachable and I think worthy of the spot that you're in, where a lot of people look to you for like, how can I just be as a therapist?
Yeah, good. That's exactly what I'm aiming for.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
glad that that's what you're picking up. There's like stuff in the background or internally that I struggle with that I might not talk about on TikTok or Instagram. I'm fine talking about it here,
Okay.
but it's it's like it's a tricky like mental health journey that I've gone on, and I've said this before. I think where I'm really happy and proud of my mental health and how much I've worked on it. And I've gone to therapy for whatever, 25 years or more. Um, so I feel like very grounded and anchored and secure and all this. But since I started posting like 2.5 years ago, I've had to like manage my mental health more than I've ever had to do that
Wow.
in my entire life, just like being a public figure or internet famous.
So being, and I actually was thinking of some questions that I wanted to ask, so I'm just going to skip to that one right now. You've just answered it because it was is what's harder on your mental health? Being a therapist is hard on your mental health
Yeah, and it was harder on the mental health 20 years ago when I was
when you
first a
first got
baby
in.
therapist
Yeah.
and trying to like figure out how to manage that and create, boundaries, emotional not take the work home with me sort of thing. And I cared too much as you do, which is kind of like a good sign when you first start out.
Especially when you don't know what you're doing, because
Yeah, that's all I got is
yeah,
care.
yeah.
I got nothing else
Shout
for
out to
you.
the younger therapist, but make sure you keep caring for a while.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about
Yeah.
my clients. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what I say is gospel. So
Right,
if you
yeah,
don't listen,
exactly. I tell my
Oh, is that
clients to
what's
just,
wrong with
yeah,
you?
follow me
Oh.
on TikTok.
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
same therapeutic effect. Yeah.
Send me a
Um,
check, but follow me on TikTok.
right,
Yeah.
right. Um, but yeah, so I don't think I was like, I don't know how one can prepare for it, but I wasn't prepared for like being in the public eye. And I have like 2.8 million followers on TikTok and 1 million on Instagram. And
Hmm.
so there's going to be people that are just like, this
Yeah.
guy. And the thing that I struggled with the most at first was like, oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me everything you don't like about me. Like, I'm
Oh,
so interested. Like,
yeah.
what if there were people out there that like hated you and couldn't stand you,
Yeah.
and you got to know exactly what they thought of you?
Oof.
And so I was just like so curious about
Yeah.
the that people were talking about me, which is not a good idea to
No,
go down those like Reddit holes
I
or
don't think I
whatever.
could do it. I don't think,
But
yeah.
wouldn't you be curious? Wouldn't you want to know what people don't like about
I
you?
would
Is that
want
just
I would
me?
want someone to tell me. I would want someone who cares about me to lie to me about it. I would, yeah.
Things are great, Marlon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trust me.
I would want them to
Episode
read
before
it
this.
and make sure there's no death threats, and
Right,
then
right, right.
over and above and beyond that, just be like, I think it's fine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That is actually what I do now. Like,
Yeah.
if there's like some therapy Jeff drama going on,
Yeah.
I'll send one of my friends in who's a therapist to like go read the comment section or something.
Yeah.
Tell me if there's things that I really should know about
Sure.
that is important for me to respond to.
Yeah.
And all the other bullshit where it's just like, I don't like how this guy's voice or whatever. I don't need to hear that. I have a beautiful voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a strong point, but yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's been like all these different ways that I've had to manage my mental health and like lean on my community in order to figure out and like create boundaries for myself so that I'm not sort of emotionally self-harming myself when I
Mm-hmm.
like go down these rabbit holes and
Mm-hmm.
try to find all the criticism that people might have about me.
Yeah. So how many times did you do that before you learned you couldn't?
Um, it was, well, so I was listening. I did that for the first 6 months because it was just starting, and there's not too much criticism. Like I'm such a sweetie, right?
I
You
would
get it.
agree.
There's
I would
not like
agree.
too much that you can talk about
Yeah.
me.
It
Um,
almost says more about them, which I know is like a classic thing to say, but it really, in this case, I think would
yeah,
say more about them.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
And it was sort of like the men that were not liking me. I was like, oh, because your girlfriends are breaking up with you because of me. Like, so I'm not going
Yeah.
to take you seriously at all.
Yeah.
You guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
Very much.
but then there's this podcast. What's it called? I think it's called "Is It a Cult?" I don't know if that's exact. I always mess up on the name, but it's these like two lovely like young women who like go through all these different things and try to figure out like, is it a cult? It's like a fun little,
Following,
yeah,
like it's like
following.
Stanley Cups or something.
Yeah,
So,
like Stanley Cups, is it a cult? Or Survivor fans, is
okay.
it a cult? And they did one on like internet therapists,
Mm.
is it a cult? And there's one pretty problematic internet therapist on Instagram who has like over 7 million followers now.
Whoa.
And she's a big deal, and there's lots of like valid criticism where she's sort of like this pyramid scheme that she's got going on. Yada yada.
Uh-huh.
We don't have to talk about her, or we can only talk about her.
Well, I don't know who it is, so yeah,
Uh,
I'm famously not that plugged in until I use the same strategy I told you about, whereas I wait for a friend to tell me about something.
as a friend,
Yeah.
their name is the Holistic Psychologist
Okay.
on Instagram, and there's a lot of different articles about them and the good and bad things about them.
Well, this is a good segue. Is why I wanted to have you guys here. There's an opportunity that I wanted you two to get on the ground floor.
Thank you.
Really,
Yeah.
all you
Jeremiah
have
was
to
just
do.
telling me about this. I was thinking,
Yeah,
no.
it feels like, so that's the funny thing is like, if you're going to be a therapist, influencer, content creator, and then you start trying to make money, it's going to feel like that sometimes. And you can, it's
Yeah,
sort of
like I trusted
okay.
you, and now
Yeah, it's okay if you're like some random content creator, influencer, or whatever. But if you're a therapist, mental health, then all of a sudden you're kind of like using your, I don't know, power, right? Your mental health power or
Mhm.
compassion or whatever in order to get money. And that's just like a funky relationship. So maybe holistic psychologist is perfectly fine, but we feel uncomfortable for whatever reasons. Maybe I'm projecting my
Mhm.
onto them. Anyways, the podcast was about like focused on them, on that holistic psychologist. And then they went to a little break and came back. And when they came back from that on that episode, they played a video of mine. And it was like me talking about attachment styles. It's a perfectly fine video. And they were like, I don't know why, but that guy's annoying. I can't stand that guy.
Oh.
And that's all that they weren't like he's part of this big cult. They're just like, by the way, I hate this guy.
Oh.
And I was listening to the podcast, hoping they weren't going to name me for some reason, and they did. They just don't. And I was just like crushed. And then I was like, cool, I don't want to do this anymore. Like
Yeah.
they are my audience, they are my demographic, and they're just like, I don't like this guy. So I felt really bad. I felt really sad and embarrassed. And then I DM'd them,
Mm.
the hosts, and I was like, hey, I listen. I'm a really big fan,
Oof.
and that like hurt. And I also like want to know, why don't you like me? Like
Yeah.
I'm interested to know, like, if this is
Natural.
how you're
That's natural.
experiencing me, then
Yeah.
yeah, then I want to know so I can understand better or make changes or whatever. And then they emailed me back. They messaged me back real quickly, and they're like, "We're so sorry. We shouldn't have said that. People call us annoying all the time, and we hate it. Like, we shouldn't have done that." And they took that out of the episode
Oh,
because there was like this very like human back and forth between me and them.
wow.
Well, I like the story for what it means
Yeah.
we could be like as people.
Yeah.
I think that's yeah.
And that's sort of the approach that I was taking sometimes. It's like, if you're going to criticize me, I'm going to be like, tell me more. And
Yeah.
also, that hurt my feelings. Let's
Oh,
talk about it.
Yeah.
the
Uh,
medium is the message, Jeff. I think
right.
yeah, you
Uh,
are that's great.
yeah. And that, like, that works in that, like, I can actually have a constructive conversation with people.
Hmm.
But now I don't do that as much as I used to. And I just sort of like,
You probably don't have the
I
capacity,
don't have the
I would
capacity
say.
anymore. But back then I did. And I had the insecurity
Yeah.
also to be like, what's going on here?
Yeah. I what's interesting to me is to hear what a basic schoolyard bullying situation that was. Like it wasn't like thoughtful or insightful or like you
Faceless.
never believe. You're just like, ah, whatever, this guy, like which is almost worse in a way, but it's
Right.
real dismissive.
Right.
Like at least think about it. But
Yeah.
again, it's like, what is this? Hot or not? I don't know. Like what's going on here?
Right.
Yeah. So a
Yeah.
little bit, yeah.
So there's that. And then there's other just, there's also like thoughtful criticism that I get that
Mhm.
like is good
You can
criticism.
take it in and
No, I
listen.
can't take it in.
Okay.
But
You can ignore it and just keep, your
no,
self-esteem
I mean,
intact and
I hear it and I'm just like, this is really thoughtful, and now I feel horrible about it, and I should make a change. It's not like I can't brush this like, oh, you're calling me annoying or you don't like my face. Okay, fine, whatever. But like, I take it in that, and then I
it's
feel
not
really
for you.
bad.
It's for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one interesting thing. So like a lot of my content, especially at the beginning, was like, I'm just going to validate people.
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of us grow up and we're not like our feelings are not validated, our emotional experiences aren't understood. So I'm going to like validate everybody.
Normalize and validate.
Exactly.
It's a good therapist. Yeah.
Yep, yep. And then there was like some content that was created about me being like, it's not that Therapy Jeff is like toxically positive. It's that he's like a toxic validator.
Ooh.
And I was like,
Ooh.
like, and like, I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get t-shirts that say toxic
Yeah.
validator." Like, I like this.
Yeah.
Um, but I was like, that's not the worst criticism, I guess. Like, I get it. Like, so, but I don't know if I take it or not, or if it's valid or not. But like, they're like, because, there's a common criticism that goes around sometimes, or like, and I made content about this a few weeks ago, I think, where somebody was like, the worst person in your life, the real piece of person in your life
Go on.
is in therapy right now, and their therapist is like, you should be selfish, or it's
Yeah.
okay that you're acting that way.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the feeling that I give people sometimes, is that like
Oh.
their shitty ex-boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever,
Mm-hmm.
ex-partner, is watching me, and their behavior is being justified by
Mm.
watching me. Like, that's why I'm a quote unquote toxic validator. Um,
That'd be so easy to get lost in, I think, just to have so many different perspectives being, you said something yesterday at your session at South by, you said, and I didn't take notes the whole time, and obviously I wasn't that interested, but, uh, no, and then you said exactly, people aren't made to get this much feedback.
yeah.
And that like stopped me in my tracks. I was like, and I got to be honest, this podcast is still fairly new, and I have stayed off of social media forever until now.
Hmm.
But I saw people like you, I saw other people like Gabor Mate and other folks I think are really, really smart and helping the world through meeting people where they're at. And so I finally said, okay, let's try it. And I think podcast, at least I could talk to somebody. Like we're here in person. This is awesome. I love this.
Hmm.
But your session yesterday, which I think had de-influencing in the title, which I'd love to hear more about, and I think everyone would probably benefit from a little bit of that. Uh, but I left there thinking, hmm, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to be a 45-year-old or 44-year-old, I should say, because everyone is wondering. Uh,
Let's
yeah,
fact check on
yeah.
this.
I just want to be clear. I'm solidly middle aged, but just right in the beginning. So, but I had to say, I was like, I have like a family I love, this all these things that I feel like really heartfelt about doing in my life, and like the opportunity to help students with our with the therapy services we provide in schools. And then I heard you talking about like, okay, this was like the hardest time of my life for my mental health. I was like, oh, all right, all right.
Yeah, just wait until you get your first bad review and
Holy
you
smokes.
read it.
And you
I
can't
mean,
take it down, huh?
no.
Okay,
On
okay.
yeah, Apple or Spotify, you can't take those reviews down.
I just hope someone does it right now so that I just get it out of the way. It's like you lose a game.
It's a rite of
Yeah,
passage
yeah,
though. Yeah.
yeah.
And sometimes it's good feedback and sometimes it's pointless or stupid feedback, but you're gonna get the bad reviews and eventually kind of like you do get the thicker skin. And maybe somebody, I think one of the other panelists said something about getting thicker skin, but it's I hate that you have to get like
Right.
thicker skin. There's something really sad and like dehumanizing.
Yeah, especially from someone you will never. It's like Dr. Nuts 42 at like Yahoo Lover,
Right.
dot biz. It's like, what the?
Right.
Who is this person?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, and even though it's like Dr. Nuts 42 Yahoo at dot biz, like
Yeah,
you still
How'd you
take
guys
it.
know?
yeah.
It's like
Can you please stop? Yeah.
uh it like even though they're like it's so easy for them to be anonymous and just like
Mm,
throw shade or
hmm.
whatever
Yes.
and they don't even think about it, it still hurts.
Yeah.
And so I do have like thicker skin or whatever, but it still does, it still ruins my day. And there's like, so there's, if you're on TikTok, and since you're an old man
Yeah.
not on TikTok,
Yeah.
I
Actually, I technically am and have been for like at least a week now. So
just so
yeah.
everyone knows, I'm younger at
Hmm.
43 years old.
Oh
Still
my.
also born in 1980, but like
Okay. Yeah.
almost 1981.
Okay. I'm listening.
Uh, there's so on TikTok, when you're scrolling on TikTok, there's a search bar at the top, and for whatever like video you're watching on TikTok, there's like a a search suggestion in
Hmm.
there based on the content. And usually, when you look at my content, it's like relationship questions, therapy, mental health, whatever. That makes sense. Every now and then there's something in there that's hard for me to read. And about a month ago,
No.
Really
there
leaning
was.
in.
This is just, it was hard for me. It was funny for everyone else, maybe.
Yeah.
But there, the suggested search in the search bar was therapy Jeff is terrible.
Oh.
Ah,
And so then there's this like, what do I do with that? So if I click on that search, I'm telling TikTok to continue putting
yeah.
that in the search bar. I don't
Yeah.
want to give it any more reason.
Yeah.
But if I don't click on it, who thinks I'm terrible? Like, I
Yeah.
need to know, like,
Yeah.
is there something actually terrible that I've done that I don't know about that is now exposed to the internet? Is it just like a bullshit? Like,
Yeah.
so I have to click it, of
Yeah.
course,
Well,
like
why not? Yeah. Yeah.
curiosity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to sit and wonder.
And then I'm like scrolling through videos trying to figure out like who's saying, nobody's saying. And somebody just types that in
But
and
they
then
got
like,
those ad dollars from
Yeah.
Therapy Jeff.
right,
They were like
exactly.
the one thing the algorithm knew, the one thing that he's gonna click
Uh-huh.
was like
Outrage.
I think anyone would click that if they saw their first and last name or they saw
Their
a
handle,
picture
yeah.
of them,
Yeah.
their handle.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
Max Stossel from Center for Humane Tech
Yeah.
a few years ago gave a talk and with Tristan Harris, Social Dilemma, this incredible documentary on Netflix. He talked about how when Facebook sends you emails and it's essentially saying, "Hey Jeff, someone took a picture of you and posted it online.
Right.
Everybody can see it.
Yeah.
Do you want to see it?" And it
Mm-hmm.
would be easy to
Yeah.
put the picture in the email
Yeah.
and
No.
just say,
No.
"Here it is."
No.
Right.
Then you're
Uh-huh.
uh, all right.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're sliding down the black hole of, Aunt Shirley's, birthday, whatever, and then there's a
Right.
cat video and what have
Exactly.
you. But yeah, they know exactly what they're doing by, well, I gotta click that. And like you said, then you just feed What'd you call it yesterday? Mommy algorithm?
Yeah.
I used to call it daddy algorithm, but
Yeah.
on stage yesterday, I was like,
Yes.
it's mommy algorithm
Yes,
for me.
that was
Yeah.
good. When you first started back in like fall of 21,
hmm
did you foresee a reality of 4 million followers across platforms? Is that something that you were aiming to do? Was it like, you know what, let me just help some people, this will be fun? What were some of maybe the foresight back then?
Yeah, so this was September of 2021, right, is when I started posting. And it was right after I got through all of the Survivor seasons. So that's how I like started my pandemic, is I'm gonna watch all 40 Survivor seasons.
Great.
Well done.
Yeah.
It was a journey.
Transformational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually like I just started dating somebody new right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I think I was like, do you want to watch all 40 seasons? And she was like, yes, I do.
Oh,
That's how our relationship started.
excellent.
We got through it. And we're closer because of it. And then I was like, I need to do something creative. Instead of just like watching something, I want to like create something. And I was scrolling on TikTok like everybody else. And we're all going through our own personal mental health crises. And I saw that like therapy was trending. And I was like, this is a good creative challenge. And my first 3 videos were like me being funny, like doing skits where I was like playing the client and therapist in like a therapy skit. Those are no longer on my TikTok. They were not popular. I thought they were kind of funny, but nobody else did. And then my 4th video like went viral.
That's the top 5 one, right?
Yeah, top like 5 things you should ask your therapist next time you see them in session or something.
It's like genuinely helpful, being yourself.
Yes.
Almost. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, I was just like, here's like a helpful thing for anyone who's going to therapy. And that took off because everyone was going to therapy at that point. And right when that took off, I was like, okay, I think I could have millions of followers. And my older sister, who wishes she was the star of the family, will be so hurt and so jealous.
That's great motivation.
Yes.
Go on.
Feed the fire.
So I never thought about being like a really big star.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I might be able to, and she'll be so insecure about it.
But a little bit happy because now she's Therapy Jeff's sister? Or
She
how did that go?
hasn't leveraged it.
Okay.
And which is so impressive.
Because that could be her brand.
That.
Yeah.
But she would never. She would never do that.
No.
And that's why I love her. I love her for that, and also hate her at the same time for lots of different reasons that we won't get into.
Yeah.
But I respect it. And so then I got like the taste of like, oh, this is really fun and really exciting. And I also mentioned in my panel yesterday at South by is like a couple months earlier, I had decided to like go no contact with my mom. So there was like this, like, I like always wanted to get the attention and validation from my mother that I never got. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of getting it. I am getting it through TikTok. So it's like, let's see where this goes.
Hey, Jeremiah here. Question for you. Where are you going to be on World Mental Health Day 2024? That's October 10th, by the way. Where are you going to be? You can join me, you can join our podcast host, Marlon Morgan, and 2,000 other leaders in mental health, education, technology, healthcare, philanthropy, entertainment, and more at the beautiful Anaheim Convention Center in Southern California on October 9th through 11th for the 8th annual Wellness Together conference. Consider this your very own personal invitation. So this is much more than just a 3-day event. You see, together, we're uniting passionate individuals from around the world that are dedicated to increasing mental health awareness, advocacy, and access for everyone. Learn more and register at wellnesstogether.org/conference. We have virtual and in-person tickets available. And for This Helps listeners, that's you get a 10% discount code when you use This Helps, all lowercase, there for a promo code. We're honored to continue partnering with the California Department of Education as they sponsor the Student and Educator Mental Wellness Track. Hope to see you at the 8th Annual Wellness Together Conference, Anaheim Convention Center, October 9th through 11th. Head now to wellnesstogether.org/conference. Back to the show.
Earlier you mentioned maybe you would talk about a few things here that you don't typically talk about. Now, I'm no seasoned journalist and I'm no hardballer, but I do think I think people would want to know. And if you're open to and comfortable sharing it with two other therapists and no one else listening now, but yeah, if are you willing to share any of that stuff? I think it might be,
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there, so, like, since we're all kids of the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think the biggest sin of the 90s was like if you were a sellout,
Mm,
like, don't be a fucking sellout.
mm-hmm.
You will have no friends, nobody will want to date you, and that
Right.
is true. You shouldn't, like, that was all good
Yeah.
consequences for being a sellout in the
Mm-hmm.
90s. So there's like the don't be a sellout thing inside of me. It took like a year before I decided to quote unquote sell out
Mm-hmm.
and start like trying to make money
Mm-hmm.
off of TikTok and Instagram to do sponsored content. Um, and I was getting like there was a lot of money being like thrown at me
Mm-hmm.
before I decided to take any of that money. And I was like so proud of myself
Mm-hmm.
for not taking that money. Being like, I'm just gonna have a Patreon. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna like do things in what feels like the right, an ethical way
Mm-hmm.
of what a therapist should do.
Right.
Um, and then I was like, eventually, who was it? I think it was the Paired app. Do you know the Paired app?
No.
Paired app is great. I love Paired app, and I need to say that because
Yeah.
I sponsor their content.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, what is it?
We
Tell
do
us.
too now, so that's great. Yeah.
Very organically,
Yeah.
tell us about it.
Yeah.
The Paired app is like if you're a couple, you can like download the Paired app, and it gives you and your partner questions that you can answer. And if you answer the question, if you both answer the question, then you can see the answers of like what your
Mm.
partner. So it's just like a cute little how to connect better with your. It's lovely. And it was them, they like offered me like up over $50,000
Wow.
to be like, will you make content for us?
Yeah.
You are our like your audience is our audience, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I started like 50,000, 30,000, 70,000, like these like ridiculous like sums of money. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm selling out,
Like a
guys.
prize fighter. Mike
Yeah.
Tyson.
Peace out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's also
Yeah.
what I was like, I still don't feel good about that,
Yeah.
but like there's a certain amount of money that I'm going to sell out for, and they
Yeah.
figured out how much it was.
But did you really sell out by talking about something that you thought was cool? I mean,
To connect.
I mean, because you've famously not sold out a number of times.
Well, well, that opened up the floodgates, though.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel like a sellout because that feels very aligned with my personal brand.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's good.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah.
but then, I've like made content for Brooklinen or Hulu or Amazon Prime or like Facebook
Yeah.
or Meta or whatever. Like there's just like like
You had me until that one. That
yeah.
one, I was like, he didn't sell out. So what?
they yeah, like or it wasn't Facebook, but it was Meta who pitched me on like, we want you to make an ad for WhatsApp. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, WhatsApp doesn't need an ad from
Yeah.
Therapy Jeff. But I did it.
I know that's that old communicate where we can't see you really and where we can't put ads in
Exactly.
front of you.
Right.
Be yourself.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
You got it.
Mark.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like whatever. I
Yeah.
don't feel like too twisted up inside, but it doesn't feel great. It's not in alignment with where I want. There's also like the demand for like doing content every day. Like I do have to post every day in order to please daddy and mommy algorithm. And I'm also contracted with like this other company called Passes,
Hmm.
which is very much like Patreon, where I told them I was going to post every day. And so I have to do that. And I don't like that I'm like, that I need to do that.
Hmm.
So that doesn't feel good.
7 days a week, every day.
Well, yeah, 7 pieces of content.
Okay.
So I like sometimes I record it in batches.
Got it.
So I don't do it on the weekends because I
Behind the
told
fourth
my
wall here.
yeah, I told my girlfriend I
Yeah.
wouldn't do it on the weekends,
Yeah.
which is a good boundary for me. So it's just sort of like a grueling like
Yeah.
schedule.
You mentioned loneliness being a part of it too.
Yeah, which is like not uncommon for the typical therapist,
That's
right?
that was one of my biggest fears because so I had mentioned to you earlier, we have a lot of therapists who work for us who go out to schools and, our mission is to make sure that students who wouldn't normally have access to excellent mental health
Hmm.
care services do at their school. And so I'm just wondering, mixed with kind of being brand new. I remember when I was a brand new therapist, I thought I knew a lot.
Mm.
I was like, I'm just out of school. These older therapists, they don't know anything because they're it's been so long since they've been in school, and
Yeah.
so much of what I learned was not in school. But anyway, what would you tell them?
Mm.
And
Well,
what can you tell them for me so that I don't have to come and be a bummer when I say, hey, maybe just be a therapist.
well, and yeah, it's the mental health effect of like I if I don't get the views that I think my video should get, or if I don't get the likes or the engagement or whatever, then that is going to affect my mental health for the entire day. And as a therapist, just seeing clients, like sure, my mental health can be affected by the sessions that I have. Um, but I'm not like needing something from my client. Like I
Hmm.
feel like I need something
Yeah,
from
that's
getting
dangerous.
views.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
I'm not addicted to my clients.
Hmm.
I don't get, yeah, I get like dopamine hits from the content that I don't know if I get like dopamine hits like
Hmm.
as big as, with my client, right? So like the work that I do in session with my clients feels like grounding and anchoring and life affirming and so sweet and lovely and special.
Hmm.
I don't really get those feelings
Hmm.
from the content. I do like there's plenty of people that come up to me and love my content
Hmm.
and I see all the comments and it's very heartwarming. Um, but there's like an addictive element, like, and also Instagram and TikTok are my bosses.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I hate that they're my
Yeah.
bosses.
That's like a constant review of your
Yeah,
performance.
so
Yeah.
yeah, like exactly. It's like this daily performance review
That's tough.
and that I have to like deal with. And so
And you're very successful, so I wonder what that's like for someone who's not.
I know. Yeah, it's horrible. Like
Yeah.
you really question yourself. So like if you're like a younger therapist that's thinking about being a content creator, I first of all, I got lucky. I mean, I'm amazing, create good content,
Yes.
but I got in at the exact right time. And
Hmm.
that's a big reason why I have so many followers. And there's this other part. So there's big therapy, right? Like
Okay.
the therapy apps
Uh-huh.
that I don't like.
Uh-huh.
But there's this,
Preach.
but there is a really wonderful thing that they did, and I'm interested if you both agree. I think you will.
Hmm.
But so I can't stand their marketing. Their marketing is gross
Hmm.
and all over the place, especially during the pandemic. And Silicon Valley was like, we have figured out how to make a dollar off of people and mental health. Like we figured out how to make therapy, um, how to like make our investors happy by making these big therapy
Hmm.
apps. And so they created marketing in order to get people to go to therapy. And what they did was like they really helped destigmatize therapy. Those
Hmm.
marketing campaigns, as much as we don't like it, worked in a really big way so that people were a lot more open to therapy.
Yeah.
And that's exactly when I started creating content. So I rode the wave of like big therapy
Uh,
doing marketing where people
Interesting.
were like a lot more open to it. So it's a lot harder right now to actually like be a big therapist influencer.
Uh-huh.
All the like stars aligned for me.
Mm.
And I'm also like incredibly handsome. And I'm
Yes.
not sure that
Yeah.
like any other
I was wondering if it was
therapist
going to come
is
up, but
as
yeah,
good looking.
yeah, I was trying to find
You're
a
all disgusting
okay.
to look at. Yeah. So, but not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have this pretty privilege.
Yeah.
I also have, along with the pretty privilege, I have every other privilege,
Hmm.
like unearned privilege,
Hmm.
that has also made it easier for me to attract followers and
Hmm.
everything. So, anyways, it's grueling. It doesn't feel good because you get addicted to it. No matter you think that you have boundaries. There was like a kid at the panel yesterday who asked a really great question. Who was like, "Hey, I'm just starting out," and I'm like, I'm a content creator and I don't feel like I have like a toxic or bad relationship with it was what the vibe that I was getting from him and I was like, just wait, buddy.
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
He was so fresh faced
I
and with so
know.
much energy
I
and
just
stuff.
wanted to like
I
hold
could do
him.
that. I think he literally said, I could do this forever.
Yeah. And I was like, I thought I could do this forever too.
Yeah.
Just like when I was a baby therapist, thinking the older therapists are
Yeah.
jaded and stupid, you know, like we all go, it's a very like important developmental stage that we all go through.
Yeah.
You'll get through
The
it.
comparison he made was, just like directors and film producers. I mean, that's also content creation, which I thought, okay, that works. Spielberg doesn't make 7 movies a week though.
Right.
For years.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's and get instant feedback
Right.
in real time, for how well you're doing or not.
Yeah, it goes back to that feedback. Like,
Yeah.
even if it's wonderful feedback, we're not supposed to get that much feedback, and
Mhm.
that's draining and grueling.
Mhm.
Mhm.
How would you describe? I'm just trying to make sure I phrase this question as a threat. So not an I statement. So
That's exactly how I encourage people to talk to each other.
Yeah, no,
It's very on brand.
How could you?
Yeah. How could you? How can you help me also, which is I think what the question is that we're always asking. I always feel like I want to explain to people, and it's getting time for me to explain to my oldest son. He's 10. I want to like help him redefine what friend means from to a generation that had it redefined for them with Facebook.
Oh,
And now it's like, what do you call? And maybe there's something on the internet that some new word that I'm not familiar with, but what do you call like an old timey friend where you actually care about each other and not just what you're doing for fun online or how you look? What do you call that?
God, I have no idea.
Isn't that horrifying? Because if you don't know, then we are. This is a problem.
It's funny how like Facebook took the word friend
Yeah.
and made it into something that feels so shallow. And it's really just like a follower. It's not a
Yeah.
friend. It's a
Follower
subscriber.
was more honest.
Yeah, follower seems a lot more, or like your audience or whatever. Like though that feels more accurate. But they've really sort of like made the word friend into some, but like maybe Gen Z or Gen Alpha is taking
Bestie?
it back. Bestie.
Maybe. I think I don't know. I honestly blame Tom from Facebook because he said he was my friend and he wasn't. And I had to get used to the idea. I was like, why is this guy on my page is that what we called it, a Facebook or a MySpace page? Yeah. Yeah, like
And also with MySpace, I don't know if you remember, but you had to like choose your top 8 friends
Yep.
yeah. That
to
was hard to do.
display.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
at least you like you didn't want to choose a top 8 that you really didn't know. And also Tom forced himself. It was like that YouTube album or YouTube album. Old. he, he was
on
like
the iPod.
Yeah,
When it came out on the iPod machine.
these days. The other totally current relevant reference was when YouTube put that album onto everyone's iTunes.
Yes.
Like that felt the same way. Everyone was like pissed, even though it was like legendary band. And Tom, obviously a legend, but I feel like he made himself one of your friends. I don't even
He
know
was he was like
yeah.
your number one friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, at first.
I
Yeah.
was like,
With the picture
yeah,
you could
it's like a
take.
white tee and just like,
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
hope this guy's
Whiteboard
a good
behind
guy
him.
because I'm telling everyone I know him.
Yeah.
He you know what, and he like cashed out at the exact right time and then
What's he
moved.
doing now?
He's living his best life. He has nothing to do with technology. He's just like living on the beach with $500 million.
Holy
He like played it so well. And when it comes to like just
genius,
like
genius,
yeah,
genius.
so I respect that guy.
Wow, that is
Uh-huh.
To your question, because with the counselors we have in schools and get a chance to work with young people, and kids will say now, like high schoolers will say, I was hanging out with my friend over the weekend.
Mm.
You go 7 sentences into that paragraph and you find out it was no, they were both playing the same video game and they were halfway around the world and that was their friend.
That's the thing though, right? Is yeah, I guess that's a good question. Like there's friends IRL
Yes.
that maybe go to school with you, but then there's friends that you like hang out with when you're playing Fortnite
Mhm.
that are halfway across the and I think us like old heads are
great.
are just like, really? That's your but like that is actually like that
Yes.
relationship is incredibly important
Yes.
and having a really positive influence and yada
Yes.
yada. But like we can't understand that that's their friends in the metaverse, and that feels like very
Yeah.
not
You-
real, but it is for them.
You're only friends if you hung out outside of class or practice.
Right?
If
Yeah.
you went to Jack in the Box
Uh-huh.
with them or something that was outside, like if you spent the night, you guys were friends.
Right. But now, like they are, you meet somebody
Hope
in
so.
now you meet somebody while you're playing Fortnite and you can start dating them and never actually like visit them in real life. But like that is that's what is a relation. You're looking at me with this.
I
But
feel like
like
it's
ask
what a
your 10-year-old.
triangulation. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to get too, therapized. I don't want to Jonah Hill someone for the doing that. But
Right.
shout out Jonah Hill, love your work.
Yeah,
But
come on the pod. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's just it's weird.
Do they triangulate? They reference the game as part of the relationship, or like I met you when you were doing, and I have no. I can maybe speak to like Minecraft because I think that's all I've let my son play. But like the creepers were coming for us, and you helped me out and built a fortress
Those
immediately.
are meet cute.
Yeah, and that's how
Minecraft meet
Yeah.
cute.
They do, yeah.
Is
They
that
they have no shame. Like that's where
oh
they're and it's interesting because like it's millennials are kind of like the only ones that are still using dating apps. When like Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they don't need a dating app to
yeah?
like meet people. They're meeting people in whatever digital space they're hanging out in.
Tell me about Gen Alpha. That sounds bad. That sounds like it should have been in the
That's
70s.
like our youngest.
Gen Alpha just turned 16.
Oh,
So 16-year-olds and under is
sounds
Gen
like
Alpha.
Sean Connery's Bond to me.
They got a kick ass generation name. And I
Yeah,
love that for them.
that's very
Yeah.
cool.
Hopefully they live up to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get around to a few other things, but in case you try to leave as fast as you did from your session yesterday, I want to.
I
It
was
was because
impressed.
I went to go see a band that was playing at 4 o'clock, and I
You
had to like
listen
jet.
as a fan, you owe me, and I. Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
gonna say,
so you
as a
all.
person that also speaks from time to
yeah,
time,
yeah,
Yeah.
respect.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, we loved it. We were genuinely looked at each other and was like, hell yeah,
Yeah,
that's good
that's great.
balance.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm out of here now. I told you guys I wanted out of this.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
I'm at it
Yep.
right now,
Right.
right
Yeah.
this second. I won't see you tomorrow. But for someone who helps people, what helps you? And I also want to know who helps you. And and this isn't your fault. And I love the people that have come on until now. I love everyone who's been on. But I'm going to preface this because now we know each other a little bit. You can't do like an easy who helps me. You have to do it has to be like poignant. Like you can't be like my current like girlfriend or like my wife or my husband or my partner. Like I every time I say my wife, I sound like Borat. You can't turn into Sacha Baron Cohen and say my wife. You can't.
Yes.
But
This
so
better be profound.
yeah. This is quite the lead up, and coffee fueled lead up. But please tell us what helps you and who helps you
Oh my God.
Now.
within the parameters I just set.
Yeah. I mean, there are those sort of like easy answers that are not very profound.
You
But
can start there if you want.
yeah, where I would start.
But the door's locked.
I'd like to thank I'd like to thank my girlfriend,
Yeah.
who's very supportive.
Yeah.
And I also have like therapist friends who are like very encouraging and have like sort of like always seen that like I could do something like this. And so
Mhm.
they're like, oh, you're coming alive right
Mhm.
in front of me. And this is so fun to be on this journey and know you before and I'll know you after. Like,
It's cool.
so there's like this a very like solid core group of friends in Portland that are mostly therapists,
Mhm.
and they've been really helpful. But I think the person who's helped me the most is just me. Like
Okay.
I feel like I don't know if that's poignant,
I think
but I
I
want to take all the credit,
yeah.
basically.
Okay.
Is that like I was like weirdly like built for this.
Mhm.
Um, through like growing up in my family, growing up in LA, like
Mhm.
there's people in my family that want to be stars,
Mhm.
and they're like work in the industry, the
Really in
movie.
LA? No, I'm just
Can you believe it?
What
yeah.
does LA stand for?
Yeah.
Los Angeles. I actually grew up in Santa Monica, the most
Woof.
beautiful part
It is
of
beautiful.
That
LA.
is
Yeah.
So
something
kind of a
else.
big deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
my family was pretty
Yeah.
rich.
Yeah. Not
Uh,
bad. Thank you, Jeff.
yeah.
Not bad.
That's what he meant about privilege.
So there was just sort of like you are this is not good, but like there's like you are worthy if you are a star. You are worthy if you have an audience, if there's people are laughing or learning from you or something.
Yeah.
Um and so there was like, oh, like that was like always inside of me, and I always kind of like fought it, being
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not going to uh subscribe to that narrative. And
Mm-hmm.
it feels kind of toxic or whatever. But that like, but there's always been this sort of like performer inside of me,
Yeah.
and also like feeling like not good enough. Like I grew up feeling not good enough in my family because I didn't want to subscribe to that.
Yeah.
And then like as a somebody who's like an internet famous, which
Yeah.
is just the most embarrassing way to be
Uh,
famous,
I
is
don't,
internet
not
famous.
anymore. No, it's like,
Ah, you're just saying that.
this isn't, it's not like Lonely Island. I don't,
Right, right.
which, shout out Sandberg. I'd love to
Oh
have you
God,
on.
yeah,
And, but yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Uh, so there was sort of like I was like kind of primed to be like, okay, there will be people who think that I'm like not good enough or I'm not speaking enough or whatever. And so I was like, I already know what that feels like and how to kind of like move through it. So I also like know what my capacity is and how much like how long I can do this for, or when it's like affecting my mental health in a way that's like a net negative or something, and it's getting close to that. And mainly because of this like addiction now that I have to these views that I don't like, that I can handle, but I can't handle for the rest of my life. So I feel like I'm like really good at creating boundaries. So I would like to thank myself,
I,
helping myself.
I think that's going to work. I don't hear a lot of people online saying this is a struggle for me.
Is a struggle. And like I said, I've gone to probably over 25 years of
Yeah.
therapy. I've worked so hard
Yeah.
on my mental health, which has given me the strength to like be in the public eye
Weather this storm for the
and
last
weather the
few
storm.
years.
Yeah. And I love it. Like it is fun and it is a creative challenge and it's like mostly a good time, but I know I can't do it forever.
Jeff, I made a joke early on. Two things I said about you. One, I want this in the podcast of what kind eyes you have. You have been like, you're like, what was that guy's name that invented mesmerizing? Was it like Franz Mesmer or something? I forgot his first name, but yeah, like yeah, he's really I could, as soon as these cameras are off, I'm gonna bare my soul, whether Jeff likes it or not. But extreme therapy, but I think um, the other thing I wanted to talk about is the move from LA to Portland. That does seem, two things seemed on brand for you, and I'm going to start using the term because now,
That's a good
why
one.
not? This is when I sell out right now. This is I don't even have it. No one's offering me money. I just
I have that effect on.
seems like if he's doing it.
I have a voicemail from Subaru to talk
Okay,
to you.
great. Oh, I love all-wheel drive. It's great. LA to Portland does seem like an FU to LA. It also seems like a FU in a different way, but like in a good way, to anything but the 90s. So I feel like, because having been to Portland, I've never felt more at home in my youth, in my glory days, and just with all the Doc Martens and all of the just sort of almost like grunge, Seattle-ish Nirvana. I loved it. So tell me how it happened, why it happened, and then I want to talk about your book.
Yeah, I grew up in LA and I didn't like it. And it's growing up in a bubble. It's weird.
Well, Santa Monica is a bubble
Within a
inside a
bubble.
bubble, right?
Yeah,
And
it's
I would
just
add that probably the better bubble to be in if you're gonna be,
yeah. Oh yeah, it's a fine bubble.
yeah,
Yeah, it's beautiful in there.
yeah,
Real comfy.
yeah,
But it feels like it's I don't know, like virtual reality.
yes.
Like it's not, and so like it didn't feel real. It didn't feel like gritty enough. Um And so when I was in grad school, I was like, I know I'm going to get out of here, out of LA. I don't know what it is. I want to leave after grad school. And then I got a crush on Molly Richardson, still have a crush on Molly. And
Oh,
Shout out
Molly,
Molly.
shout out Molly. Molly is grew up in Portland. And I was like, I'm going to move to Portland
Romantic.
because there must be more Mollies in Portland
Yeah.
that I can fall in love with. Turns out there's not. Molly is just a wonderful, unique person. But that was like the thing. I was just like, okay, like
Even the name Molly kind of seems like a cute person from Portland.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then I moved to Portland, didn't know anybody, and it turns out that it was a really good fit.
That's wonderful.
That's
Mhm.
cool.
Okay, well, I've been excited about I actually tried to order it and then I got absolutely housed with you can pre-order it, which is always it's like delayed gratification, but I was like it felt like when you're do you remember speaking of the 90s, yeah, how you used to get Scholastic order forms?
God.
And then this one was particularly like that because every year I'd like I grew up opposite of Rich, and so I don't want to say it, I don't want to bum anyone out on the podcast,
So
but
sorry
yeah,
for
thank
you.
you. Yeah, I didn't know Santa Monica existed until much later, and I drove near it. But I but saw the sign through it. But I would one thing I did get my mom to do, my single mom, was to order that year's Guinness Book of World Records every year. I was like, I don't care. And it was the most expensive one because she was like, okay, honey, you can have one. And the paper that those Scholastic ads were on, honestly, it was like onion skin. It was
Yeah.
like it disintegrated. If it was,
Why?
I don't know how much money were they saving? It was a color copy.
Profit margin.
Yeah, it was like if it was a rainy day,
You're done.
you got to keep that thing safe.
Yeah, you pull it
Yeah,
up, put it
yeah.
in your pocket.
So you get home, you get your mom to write a check for this one book, and you don't get that book if you ordered it in, I don't know, November. You're lucky to get that book before your yearbook.
Oh yeah,
You're
yeah.
and it's one day it's on your desk, and it's like, oh,
That's
I
right.
can't wait to see who has the longest nails now. But it's gonna be gross, but I want to see it.
It's changed.
Yeah,
It's changed.
Yeah.
That guy's still the tallest
Yeah.
guy.
But that's how I felt when I went to order your book because I was like, I did it, but then at the same time I was like, all right, I guess it'll like show up when I least I might already have moved, but anyway, everyone should do it.
You're welcome
Yeah.
for giving you that experience.
Thank you. It was
of
nostalgic.
nostalgia.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's called
Tell
big
us
dating energy.
big dating energy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
It's called big dating energy.
and you're doing a podcast. Your most recent podcast, which I thought was very interesting. I think you take some risks. You're super vulnerable. I appreciated it. I connected immediately. I think, which is probably part of why people love you. But do those have to do with each other? Tell us about the podcast and the book.
Yeah. So the book is part of my exit strategy
Mm-hmm.
to get off of TikTok and
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. Although just say I will like probably continue to post on TikTok and Instagram maybe a couple times a week instead of like every day. Um, but when you're this is not good for your kids that want to be influencers, so turn the podcast off.
Okay.
But if you're going to be like, if you do hit it big and you become like, you get a lot of followers or fake friends on TikTok and Instagram,
I'm leaving it on for that.
yeah, the literary agents will swarm
Okay.
you because now you have a platform and now you have
Mhm.
customers that will actually buy your book. And so they swarmed. I talked to them, found somebody that I really liked, talked to a bunch of publishers. These publishers like had an auction to like try to like get my book. And so then I agreed and then I did it and I wrote it. And it's just like if you like my content on TikTok or Instagram, then it's me doing like deep dives into that content,
Mhm.
going through all the stages of a relationship. But also the first part of the book is like called like How to Blame Your Parents, where I just like rip your parents apart, and also capitalism and
Yeah.
society and Disney and Hollywood and all that stuff.
Great.
So
I'm halfway there.
yeah. So it's just like a really helpful guide on like how to like show up authentically in your relationship and have a healthy relationship to get your needs met. And it's also like incredibly funny. It's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
funniest self-help book. And I've read it like 6
Yeah.
or 7 times now. It's incredibly readable, I gotta say.
That's great.
Yeah, I famously don't read,
Yeah.
but this book
Okay.
is so good. I read it.
Jeff, I think the best authors, and this is true because we got to hang out with you, hear from you yesterday at South by, and then hang out with you a little bit today, have lunch,
hmm
and you do seem like you would be a great hang. Like just a very
Yeah.
fun person to hang out with.
Yeah.
So anyone who doesn't get the privilege like we have right now to be able to see you and hang out with you in person, I think this book is going to be, because books are really
Yeah.
it's almost real intimate in a way. It's like
Yeah.
you get to like feel like you're hanging out with this person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can also hang out with me on my podcast, Big Dating Energy.
Yeah.
You can also hang there. But and I'm gonna guilt you into like completing your pre-order purchase. It sounds like, did you complete it yet?
I think so.
Okay, good. Well,
Yeah.
then I'm gonna guilt you.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
No, I'm very excited, and I get it. You're a big deal.
I'm a big
But-
deal.
yeah.
But like the number of pre-orders I get is incredibly important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because then it'll make it so that like the publishing company will put like even more money behind
Okay.
it, or it can become a bestseller or something.
Yeah.
But it all depends on your pre-orders and then the first week. And
Okay.
if it goes well, then great. If it doesn't go well, then
Let's help be part of his exit strategy.
get me out of your phone.
Yeah.
I don't want to be
Yeah.
trapped in there
We need to get him
anymore.
into a very literary and intimate space where he can have a
Yes.
life.
Yeah,
not
where I'm
post every
actually
day.
respected and
Yes.
not just internet famous.
Yes.
Where should listeners go to the best way to order the book?
Therapyjeff.com, or Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Powell's.com if you want to support a
Oh,
local
Great.
Sure.
Been
Let's
there.
do that.
Biggest
Yeah.
bookstore in the country, right?
biggest used bookstore in the
Okay.
country. Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Wow. Jeff, it has been amazing. I know you said yes to us and we were overjoyed, and I am even happier now than that moment. So thank you for being here. Really genuinely appreciate you. I'd love to hang at any point. And so however we can continue to support what you're doing, we'd love to do that.
Yeah, you're both very good podcasters.
Oh,
This will be
thanks.
Oh,
successful.
thank
Yeah,
you.
that
Bless you.
Yeah, you're so easy to talk to.
Oh, wonderful.
You're not boring. This is fun.
This is all we're going to release. If you
It's
keep
the
saying,
podcasts are successful based on mostly the banter.
Okay.
So as long as you continue this sort of banter, golden. Yeah, I will give you at least a 4-star review. Yeah.
that's enough. That's enough.
Therapy
We can
Jeff.
build on that.
4
Yeah,
stars.
Yeah.
4 stars. Therapy Jeff.
4 out of 4. Yeah.
4 to 5.
Yeah,
but
4 out of 5.
yeah.
Okay. But thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks again. And incredible. Yeah. Yeah. You're not a bad podcaster yourself. I think that was a big part of it.
Yeah. And that's most of it,
Yeah.
probably. But yeah, keep having me
Yeah.
on. You'll be
Okay.
fine.
Well, we will.
Yeah, good.
Awesome.
All
Thanks.
right.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope it helped. Stay connected with us at thishelpspodcast.com.
Hey, on World Mental Health Day, October 10th, why not spend it with the world's leaders in mental wellness and find out why Healthline.com called the Wellness Together Conference one of the must-attend mental health conferences in the world. You got plans? Because I want to invite you to the 8th annual Wellness Together Conference. There's going to be over 2,000 other leaders in mental health, education, technology, healthcare, philanthropy, entertainment, and so much more. Happens October 9th through 11th at the Anaheim Convention Center in the beautiful Southern California. There's going to be groundbreaking workshops, many opportunities to connect with other like-minded leaders, and we're gathering leaders from around the world, those passionate individuals that are dedicated to increasing mental health awareness, mental health advocacy, and mental health access for everyone. You can learn more and you can register right now at wellnesstogether.org/conference. That's wellnesstogether.org/conference. And we have a special gift for our This Helps listeners. That's you, if you're watching or if you're listening to this. Receive a 10% off promo code by just entering This Helps, all lowercase. This helps to receive 10% off your registration. In-person and virtual tickets are available right now. And hey, maybe you're interested in just relaxing for the weekend. Just go into a couple of sessions. That's fine. Be our guest, because right across the street, I think there's an amusement park that they refer to as the second happiest place on earth, right underneath the Wellness Together Conference. You may also get a chance to meet the host of This Helps, Marlon Morgan. Yes, he is going to be there, an inspiring keynote session every single year. So again, head to wellnesstogether.org/conference, October 9th through 11th, Anaheim Convention Center. Virtual and in-person registration is available now, and use This Helps to receive 10% off registration. And that's just for you, our This Helps listeners. Hope to see you there. Don't forget to enjoy that promo code, 10% off registration. This Helps. Use that right at registration at wellnesstogether.org/conference. See you there.